Hello everybody and welcome back to another Getting Stuff Painted, my bi-weekly update, give or take on the miniatures I've been painting for the games we cover on the channel. And it's an early edition one. I am recording this at 8:30 in the morning. I've been up since 4:30 because of a raging storm outside. Bins are everywhere, etc. It's lovely. So apologies in advance if the lighting's probably going to be quite severe, just to make up for the lack of daylight that's currently available. But we have a lot to cover, so we're going to jump straight into it from left to right. We have Elder Scrolls Call to Arms, we have Necromunda, we have Warcry / Age of Sigmar, and then, for the first time in a little while now, we have Blood Bowl. So as I bring the Elder Scrolls miniatures into view here, if you hear any thuds in the background, that is wheelie bins falling over because of the winds and rain. So this is a box for Elder Scrolls Call to Arms I had sitting for a long time. I think it's called the Adventurer Companion Box, or Adventurer Follower. It's one of those two, and it's just an assortment of 5 almost exclusively mercenaries in the video game Skyrim that you can hire. I think the only exception is the Argonian Drakethis, or Drakethis, whatever his name is. I think you get him following you from a quest. The rest of these, I believe, are the hirelings, so they are ones who you can't do a quest to get with you. You have to pay them a sum of gold. Mercurial here, I know for sure you do, because I've recently done that in Skyrim VR. He costs 500 gold. I think one of these two is in Whiterun and the other one is in Winterhold. Her I don't remember at all. But I've had this box sitting for a long time and I wanted a break from painting up Kill Team after Kill Team. So I went and, well, for one I went to Blood Bowl, but we'll get to that. And I went to this old box because I thought, you know, I'm going to start getting through some of my backlog. Because why not? It's the time of year. So yeah, I'm going to have to work with the extra glare here to hopefully, we just zoom in a little bit to focus on the models here, because that's all that matters. Oh, and one of my dog's hairs, of course, because it wouldn't be one of these videos without my dog's hairs getting everywhere. So it's Modiphius resin, you know how this works, and it is an older set. It's from 2019. So it's not the worst period for the resin they were using, but it's certainly not great, because they've never switched to a resin that works well for whatever reason. This is probably the easiest of the bunch that I did, because it's mostly lead belcher silver with a little bit of Agros Dunes, snakebite leather, and then non-oil. The glass sword she has on her back is the Eldari Emerald contrast paint, again with non-oil over the top, and that is Rattling Grime plus Basilicanum Grey for like the pub type base she's on. Drakethis I used, which green did I use for his skin tone? I think that was Warp Lightning. I got a fresh bottle of Warp Lightning recently, so I think I used that. His shirt is just the base coat of grey cere. We've got some snakebite leather on the quiver, Rattling Grime for the hilts of, or whatever you call the shafts, I guess, of the pickaxe he wields and the bow. And his belt is Black Legion, and his trousers are, that's Gargex Sewer, I believe. And the base is also Basilicanum Grey, Agros Dunes for the burlap sacks, and Rattling Grime for like the minecart track, because I think you find him in a mine, and again, hopefully it is mostly in focus there. He's definitely, the ones in order poses are always much harder to get in focus while you're trying to show all of them. But because I spray painted these after cleaning them in some hot soapy water, it wasn't too bad. It's still not ideal, but as long as you spray paint the base coat onto a Modiphius miniature, you won't struggle nearly as much as just trying to use a paintbrush. I tried to do some fancy lighting effects with Mercurial here because he's casting lightning magic in his pose, like this whole ball thing. Worth noting, with the newer sculpts for like the Mages Guild, Modiphius actually switched to offering you like perspex plastic instead for spells. I'm not sure if that's better, because you probably, if you're able to do fancy effects, and I'm not saying I have here, but if you are able to do like fancy lighting effects, you'll probably want to do your own. Although you can still apply that over the see-through plastic as well, I'm sure. So I used a mixture of Luxium purple, Leviathan purple, and Gene Stealer hide for all the magic, and that created kind of a light on his garb, which is Gryph-hound orange. And that's basically it, except for Skeletal Horde and Agros Dunes for his sack plus belt and the wraps he's got around his ankles. I think now that I've seen him in the main game recently, it's not quite the right colour of orange. I'm also noticing, I think that's actually a strap for his satchel there that I missed. It absolutely is. So that should really, I'm going to have to go over that. And luckily it's not catching any of the light until the shoulder blade. Well, yeah, so that should be the same colour as the strap on his backpack thing. That's an apothecary satchel actually, based on what they look like in the video game. So yeah, that's something I missed unfortunately, but I will fix it for whenever he is seen on the table. And then these two, I don't know, I guess he's connected to Dwemer Ruin because his scenic base is like Dwemer Cogs. I decided to add some blood to them, just add a bit of flavour. Come on, Mr. Barbarian Man, let's have you. There we go. So for him, I started by painting everything in Agros Dunes and then building it up in layers based on what it needed to be at the end. So after doing that, I then used Snakebite Leather in the darker leather parts. Then I used Lead Belcher Silver, which isn't a contrast paint, so it overpowers the contrast paints where it needs to. And then just use Nuln Oil over the top and Gloaming Flesh for the skin tone. And it worked surprisingly well. I think he might have been the one I least cared about doing out of this set, and typically he's the one who turned out best, because isn't that always the way? He's cool, yeah. And the armor is super authentic to how it looks in the game, and that's the best part, really. I think I would have said Mercurial was pretty high up there until I noticed that I missed the strap, and did not realize when I was painting him. Then we have this Dark Elf, who I guess is kind of like a ranger type because it's bow, dagger, sword, or one-handed sword. For her skin tone, I decided to go with a slightly lighter tone than I did when I was doing the Dark Elf, who is in the Dark Brotherhood. It's the Fang, I think. No, the Fang I think is slightly darker. I used one of the almost grey, just blue standard Citadel paints. I don't think it was the Fang. It might have been. Either way, it wasn't a contrast paint, just to try and get a paler look, because typically Dark Elves are not super blue, they are more on the pale side, and I think that does work better. Oh yeah, and she's got a spilled goblet of wine there, so I just use a little bit of Sigurd Burgundy on top of the rattling grime to show like the wine has spilled and seeped into the floorboards, which I think is pretty cool. So yeah, that turned out. And I'm taking this opportunity from my break for doing kill teams to also try and paint up some older Fallout Wasteland Warfare stuff, so as a spoiler for next time, you might see some things from that. Next, and to finish up one half of the Necromunda Hive Storm box, Hive War, whatever it's called, the final two Delac gang members. This one I do intend to keep inside my gang. He's just showing off the knives, he's not actually equipped with them in terms of how I've equipped him. He is equipped with the gun that's on his back, but he's just kind of showing off that he likes knives, because they have a thing for knives. But he is just using, I think that's the auto gun or a las gun. Either way, whatever that was, I've forgotten now. It is on his back. If you want to hear in depth how I paint up my Delac gang, I covered that in the video most recently in this series before this one, so just go back one video and I go into detail there about how I've been painting them. This was just the final two I had to do, and yeah, this is the actual guy I'll be using as part of my crew. And this, if you just go by what comes in the box, is meant to be your leader, which is why he's slightly fancier looking. He's got like a snake bug cane and some other like extra garb things on him, but I'm not going to be using him, at least not for my leader in my first gang that I've put together. But he is certainly a slightly fancier looking option, walking with dignity. But yeah, I didn't really like the look of him. It does seem to be like I think I mentioned this last time, but like every sort of helpful starter guide for Necromunda I looked up, they always have the leader of the gang as a sniper. And I'm guessing that is just because they have such good ballistic skill compared to normal guys who are not very great at it, that it seems to be the best. And modelling just a normal guy with a sniper is much easier than trying to like customise this guy. Plus I like this guy's weird looking bug cane, it's got like a chameleon on it. So yeah, if you want to hear the colours I use, go back one video. But as a matter of note, that is the Delac half of that box done. I have no idea when I'll be tackling the House Escher side. It's just a case of when I feel like it, really. I'm not in any rush to bring Necromunda to the channel because I know it's a very niche game as well, and it's not like I don't cover enough niche games as it is already. So this was just a personal project. I wanted to paint these up. Plus, to actually feel my Delac gang as I would want it, I'm going to need to pick up some additional boxes for them. The one that has the Psygeists and whatever the other specialist champion / elite thing is. I've forgotten offhand what it's called, but like the assassin type guys that can kind of start anywhere. And again, as a matter of note, behold, 2 more ghouls for the Flesh Eater Courts. This makes 7 of them in total, if you count the one that's I've made into a hero type miniature done out of the 10. So I still have 3 to go. And again, this is just a quick matter of notice, like, hey, oh look, I have also already covered these, but they're so simple I can really quickly do it again. You're looking for Gut Ripper Flesh for their skin tone, Wildwood for the darker hair parts, Agros Dunes for any straps, or you can use Skeletal Horde, but I use Skeletal Horde for the actual bones they're carrying or bones they've stuck on their spikes or attached to their limbs, like there, that sort of thing. Non-oil over the top, Volupus Pink for their mouths, Bile Red for their eyes, and Stormfiend Blue on top of the AK Concrete Technical like thing that I keep on talking about on the base, and that is it. So super simple. They'll probably be in the next one in this series, but that's the last of them, and then I'm quite finished painting up these little ghouls. They're fast, but a bit tedious. So it is quite a while ago now that I finished painting up the Ogre team for Blood Bowl. Never even got a chance to try them in full Blood Bowl or Sevens, and I just never got around to it, and I never got started on a new team until now. With the release of 3rd edition, speaking of which, expect at least an unboxing from me on that, because that box was just such good value. I could not pass up on it. I decided, well, while I'm waiting on those new teams in that box arriving, I have teams sitting that I will paint up. Which team most appeals? And it was kind of, tail end of October, start of November when I was making this decision. It's like, vampires, that's what I want to paint up, vampires. So I have focused on prepping them for Sevens, so I want 4 of their Thrall linemen in total, 2 of which I have here to talk about. And then the layout I have planned for Sevens is 2 Blitzers, a Thrower and a Runner, which I know adds up to 8, but as long as you're within budget you can have up to 11 on your Sevens team. You can only field 7, but you can have more. So this is the Runner, this is the Thrower, and again 2 Thralls. And I used the same basis for all of them. I'm not really happy with my paint job on any of these, just to be clear. I don't think I did them justice. I spray painted their base coat in Grey Seer on a particularly cold day, so some of it cracked. So I had to work around, also the camera just is not liking this lady. Had to work around that and try and reapply, so which meant that some detail got lost. So not an ideal situation, but in terms of what I used, the reds you're going to see on them, with the exception of her, since I only used Bile Red on her, but then I realised they've got kind of a two-tone red situation going on, like their cape red is different to their armour red. So after I finished this one, because this was my test lady, I started using Bile Red for just the cape interiors, and then I used Blood Angels Red for the parts that are actually armour, like the knee guards, the shoulder guards, etc. So that's the 2 tones of red I ended up using. For the black fabric parts, I used the darker black contrast paint. I always get, I think it's Templar, and then the slightly lighter black contrast paint, Black Legion, I used for the armor parts, and then I used the Fang to edge highlight the armor parts ever so slightly, which hopefully you can sort of see on if I shine that towards the light there. You can kind of see I've edge highlighted it a little bit. Plus, just in general, it's a different shade of black. It's not as like dark. So it picks out, hopefully, the difference between the 2 sections. Their skin tone is just the base coat with non-oil on top, and in particular this runner's kind of wearing like a burgundy under armour, so that is just Sigurd's burgundy. And that is about it, and her parts of her boobs are showing for some reason. And the Thrower, you can actually see like the way the spray paint has kind of pulled and torn a little bit. He's now got a little lump there, like a tumour that he's not supposed to have, but whatever, he's part bat. He's hiding the fact that he's holding the ball in there by concealing it with a bat wing, which is kind of fun. With the exception of the bat hand, which was done with Magos purple contrast paint, it was all the same again. This is the one I've most recently finished, and I do feel like it, with the exception of just the spray paint not doing great, I feel like this one turned out best. But still not great. Also, I haven't put any numbers on any of them yet because I'm going to finish the whole team first and then make decisions about that. Lead Belcher Silver for the helmets and such. And for the bases, I used a very, very thin coat of the AK concrete paint and then painted that with Lead Belcher Silver. Just used some PVA glue to do some grass, and then when that was all dry, just ran a streak of Grey Seer just to give the impression of the lines on the pitch, just as an effect. So I think he's probably the one that turned out best, and I have one of the Blitzers on my painting table right now, so that will definitely be in the next one, but I need to get 2 of them painted up ASAP for Sevens. And Sevens does actually go into the new rules for 3rd edition or 3rd season Blood Bowl pretty well. So for their linemen are mostly just wearing ripped open clothes because they are there to be eaten in case the bloodlust makes the vampires go insane, otherwise you might cause a turnover. That's kind of like their downside for being so powerful. So all the same colours again, just dispersed differently, and there are repeat poses, like they're all repeat poses. There's 6 linemen and there's 3 poses. The blitzers are the same pose, but you can give them different heads. They have slightly different arms. Like one of the linemen in one version is holding a bat under his arm, and one version he's not. So they've actually done it quite cleverly, and in the official paint job as well, they usually alternate the colours. So say for instance this guy, he's got red trousers and a white shirt. The other one that sort of looks like this, you could swap that. So white trousers, red shirt, or you know, brown trousers, whatever really. But you can just do subtle things to make them look more different at a glance, so it's not as hard to tell who is who on the table, which is a nice way of doing it while still keeping the total number of poses manageable, because they like doing their kind of one single pose to work off of for linemen, for instance. So this is a newer team. Like towards the end of the 2nd edition is when the vampires finally release. So I think they did it in a very clever way. And on that note, here is the last one of at least the ones I painted up so far. Just another basic guy. Again, they've got those things tied around their upper arms, so their blood pools in their wrists, I guess, and then the wrist parts of their frilly shirts are all ripped and torn and like that up there, just so the vampires have easy access if they need a nibble to stay conscious and in full coherency. So that's a fun effect. Fire Slayer flesh for this guy's skin tone. It was Ghouls flesh for the other one. The official paint job is to have their skin a bit paler. I wasn't quite sure how I wanted to do that because I wanted the vampires to be fully pale, so I didn't want to just use grey seer with non-oil for the thralls as well. So I opted to give them a bit more colour. Maybe they're not fully drained yet. You could maybe do like a really, really light dry brushing of grey seer or something to pale them up a little bit, but I was fine with how they looked as is, so I didn't bother. So yeah, 4 out of 7, or technically 4 out of 8 done for my planned 7s team. And hopefully we'll see 7s again in the future. I have plans to try a more succinct form of filming Blood Bowl, because the part of, like, I love Blood Bowl, but the part of filming it takes so long. And you can't really edit anything out if you're showing full dice rolls, full movement, etc. So a full game of Blood Bowl is like 2 hours, or an hour 50. And 7s is still like an hour to an hour 10. So I'm looking for ways to try and condense that. I have an idea, I haven't tried it yet, and I think finishing this vampire team for 7s, that is, will give me the excuse to actually give it a go and see if people are receptive to it. So apologies again for the storm related very harsh lighting I had to use here to get any light. It's dark outside and very windy and very wet and very horrible. Hopefully any bins falling over or knocks around, etc. weren't audible. And yeah, in general, I hope this inspires you to get through your pile of grey shame. It's okay to come back to something you haven't touched in years. Case in point, I've literally had this sitting for probably four or more years. The vampire team, I bought them when they came out, so that's been, what, 2 years now, maybe? Almost 2 years. So it's fine, as long as you go back to them and as long as you enjoy it. Next time you can expect to see maybe some Fallout Wasteland Warfare, some Call to Arms maybe, hopefully those 3 ghouls done, more of the vampires. I'm not sure I'll get the rest of the entire team done for 7s, so that's 4 more models. I might, I'm not sure, but you'll definitely see some of them because I have a blitzer in progress right now. And I'm not sure what else. I couldn't tell you. Maybe even some Batman miniature game, because I have a big model for that based and ready. I'm just working up the confidence to tackle it, which is something I usually do before I take on something, a very large impressive miniature. But I can talk more about that once we actually see it on the table, I guess. Thank you for watching, thank you for enjoying my rambling while I show you the rubbish I've been painting, and I will see you in about 2 weeks to do the whole thing again. Until then, ta-ta for now.